Welcome to the Blueprint Podcast. This podcast was created to offer a clear, practical perspective on what it really means to lead, build, and grow in alignment with strong values and a clear mission, especially in an industry that often tells us there's only one way to be successful. My name is Angelica. I'm the CEO of Sansel Construction, and I believe that the blueprint for meaningful success isn't about doing things the loudest or the fastest. It's about building with intention, clarity, and integrity. In this episode, it's just me sharing how we're approaching 2026, what it's going to take to win, and why individual decisions matter more than people realize. So let's dive in. At our end of year Christmas party, John, Jim, and I each had the opportunity to speak to our team about where we've been and where we're going. A big part of that conversation centered on growth, not just in size, but growth and maturity. Over the last few years, we've experienced real growing pains, and more importantly, we've learned from them. We talked about why processes matter, why culture matters, and why living out our 4 pillars isn't optional, especially as we grow. But the biggest takeaway for me was the idea of winning. Winning for us means achieving our vision of being our client's number one choice, and we've never been shy about that vision. We know exactly what we are working toward, and we're clear on what it's going to take to get there. That's why 2026 matters. Not because it's a finish line, it's far from it, but because it represents the next phase of our growth. It's the point where decisions we're making now around people, processes, and accountability start to show up in a very real way. We are celebrating 20 years in business this year, and the statement that we are building something different and unique at Stansel is important as we pave the way for a new norm in the construction industry. 2026 is about turning lessons into systems, culture into consistency, and vision into execution. And that takes all of us. As we talk about the blueprint, I want to be clear about what winning means. When I think about what it's going to take for us to win, I break it into 3 buckets: people, execution, and reputation. I want to start with people, because you can't win without a team that actually wants to win and is relentless in its pursuit of getting better. One of my biggest focus areas as CEO is building a winning culture. And for me, that always starts with people. The reality is that culture isn't defined by words on a wall. It's defined by the people on the team and the behaviors they model every day. A winning culture is built when you have people who take ownership, care about the outcome, and hold themselves and each other to a high standard. But even the best people can't win without clarity and execution. The second bucket is execution. Execution is where intention turns into results. You can have the right people and the right vision, but without clear processes and disciplined follow-through, even the best teams struggle. For us, execution isn't about moving faster, it's about working with clarity and consistency. It means having processes people actually understand and use. It means setting clear expectations, removing unnecessary friction, and holding ourselves accountable to the standards we've agreed to. Strong execution allows people to do their jobs well without constantly putting out fires. And the truth is, when execution breaks down, it doesn't just impact results, it impacts morale. People get frustrated, communication suffers, and good effort starts to feel wasted. Winning requires disciplined execution, even when things get busy, even when it would be easier to cut corners. Because consistency over time is what separates teams that grow from teams that just stay busy. And when you combine the right people with strong execution, reputation follows. The third bucket is reputation. Reputation is a result of how we show up when it matters most. It's not built through marketing or what we say about ourselves. It's built through our actions, especially under pressure. Our reputation is shaped by how we treat our clients, our partners, and each other when things don't go perfectly. It's built on our responsiveness, our transparency, and our willingness to own mistakes and make them right. The truth is, reputation is fragile. It takes years to build and only moments to damage. And while results matter, how we achieve those results matters just as much. If we focus on having the right people and executing with clarity and consistency, our reputation will take care of itself. That's how we become our client's number one choice, not just once, but over the long term. If we get these 3 things right, results follow. I want to shift to something that often gets overlooked: how individual decisions shape outcomes. Culture isn't built in big moments, it's built in the small ones. We have about 130 people making countless decisions every single day. And the truth is, it doesn't matter what your title is. Titles don't determine impact. Choices do. The decisions we make when no one is watching, when things are busy, or when it would be easier to take a shortcut. That's what actually defines our culture and our ability to be successful in our pursuit of our vision. Most outcomes aren't decided in meetings. They are decided in moments that are small at the time, but they add up quickly. And this shows up in more places than we probably realize. It shows up when someone notices an issue and chooses whether to speak up or stay quiet. Maybe it's a safety concern, a process that isn't working, or work not matching the blueprints. Choosing to speak up protects the team. Staying quiet might feel easier in the moment, but it almost always costs us later. It shows up when we decide whether to follow the process or take a shortcut because we're busy. Shortcuts can feel efficient, but over time they create confusion, rework, and frustration. Strong execution isn't about perfection, it's about consistency. Another way it shows up is how we communicate when things don't go as planned. Do we stay respectful and solution focused, or do we let the stress dictate our tone and behavior? Pressure doesn't create culture, it reveals it. What we tolerate in these moments quietly becomes our standard. And when you step back, you start to see how small decisions, repeated over time, create very real outcomes. When you put all of this together, it becomes clear that winning requires more than effort. It requires shared expectations. There are 3 expectations that we'll dive deeper into future episodes, but I wanted to name them clearly here. Expectation 1, ownership without waiting. This means that taking responsibility without needing permission, reminders, or titles. If you see something that needs to be addressed, you own it, or you find the solution. Expectation 2, clarity over comfort. Clarity isn't always comfortable, but it's always necessary. This means having honest conversations, setting clear expectations, and addressing issues early instead of letting them linger. And expectation 3, accountability without ego. Accountability isn't about blame, it's about ownership and improvement. It requires humility, self-awareness, and a willingness to learn when things don't go as planned. These expectations aren't about control, they are about alignment. And I want to be clear, these expectations start with leadership, including me. Before I ask any of this of the team, I want to be clear about my own commitment. As CEO, it's my responsibility to provide clarity around where we're going, what winning looks like, and how we make decisions along the way. I'm committed to continuing to build structure where it's needed, to communicate more clearly, and to make sure expectations don't live in my head. They're shared and understood. I'm also committed to holding myself accountable when we miss the mark, and to being open to feedback when something isn't working. If I expect ownership, clarity, and accountability from my team, then I have to model it first. That's my commitment as we move forward towards achieving our vision. When you step back, winning isn't about one big moment or one big decision. It's about the small choices we make every day, how we show up, how we execute, and how we treat people along the way. That's the blueprint. So as you move through this week, here's the question I want you to think about. What decision am I making today that supports winning? And it's not just for me, but for the team as a whole. Because when those decisions are made consistently, everything else follows. Thank you for taking the time to listen to this episode. If this was helpful, I hope it gives you something to think about as you move through the week. But until next time, let's go win.